Yo, yo, yo. We lit, we lit, we lit, we lit, we lit, we lit. All right. Yeah, I'm just so I found this new YouTube channel called Timestamp. As you can well no, you can't even see, but it's called Timestamp. Actually, let me adjust this real quick. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's called Timestamp. Really cool stuff. Just really I just love hearing people's perspectives. As you may know, I have a little perspective series that I'm working on. But just hearing other artists' perspective, I think it's very, um, I would say relatable, but I think it's also very inspiring to just kind of let you know, like, yeah, you're not alone in this. People go through struggles as well. But I think that's the best part about sharing perspectives is helping people understand that they're not alone in the world. Because I think that could really affect somebody. But enough talking. Here's another timestamp episode. If you don't know about them, please subscribe. It's
It's
really
a
good stuff.
compulsion.
So
So in lots of ways, if I could choose, sometimes I think if I could choose not to make paintings and not to make art, I would choose not to because it's kind of a burden in lots of ways. But at the same time, it's also maybe the best way to spend my time. It's the way that I am at my most I'm at my most complete when I'm in the studio making or making drawings or working in some way. So I just think I just have to do it. I don't think it's really a choice. So my name's Henry Ward, I'm a painter, I was born in London and I live and work in London. As a child I always thought I would do something involving drawing. I drew from a very early age, I guess like lots of children do, and
these are
I
cool.
couldn't really imagine doing anything else, but for a lot of, certainly my childhood and through school, I didn't really see how that would be a living or a way of kind of existing in the world. I just knew it was something and trying to understand what the
And I'm gonna
director was
skip
doing
around
visually,
because
and
I
realizing
wanna.
this was amazing.
I don't want to get copyright. I might get copyrighted regardless, but we'll see.
And thinking, what if you could do that to that as well? So it was a bit like suddenly everything became more than just the thing. It was this critical space as well. So I think that was probably the most profound thing. But I think in terms of sort of people painting, I think it probably was. I don't know. I had a great tutor at art school who was the head of painting, and I remember it wasn't so much about painting, but it was more about conviction. I remember she said to me once that there were like 30 people in my year as painters, and she said, you realise that a year after leaving art school, half of you will have stopped painting, and after 5 years there will only be maybe 5 of you that are still painting, and after 10 years there'll only be 1 or 2. And I remember thinking that was a really depressing statistic, but actually it was like it planted a seed of, I'm definitely going to make sure I'm in the 1 or 2 that are still painting. And now, it's 32 years, over 32 years since I left my undergrad, and I can think of at least half a dozen people I was on that course with who are still painting. So she was wrong, but that conviction thing was really important. My parents both trained as teachers, and my mum was a school teacher, and where I'm just painting, the rhythm sort of shifts. But I think there is something about maintaining a kind of daily engagement in the practice that I think is really important. So these ones are on a really heavyweight, like Fabriano sort of rag paper. So they're about 380 GSM. So they really take the paint really well. And I usually work on a heavyweight paper, but I have done some works. So something like this one in the frame there is on a much thinner paper, and I was kind of experimenting with allowing the paper to really wrinkle and.
There's so many different layers to painting. Like I took painting back in high school, but there's so many different layers to it.
When I'm painting on them, I don't prep the paper beforehand, so the paint goes straight onto the paper, and I quite like the way it responds and reacts to it in that way. Lots and lots of works on paper. So these would be. This is the size that I tend to work in the shed. So these are the kind of. There'll just be piles and piles and piles of these. And they kind of pile up. You know, the shed is not really set up, so there's not much space. There's nowhere to sit down, but it's there, and maybe it'll come into something. And one of the things I think that's really happened a lot in the last maybe couple of years of painting is this sort of sense of almost characters appearing. So if I look back at work that I made 30 years ago, I was very consciously referencing things like sort of cartoon language, sort of Disney backdrops, bits and pieces out of films, and they were sort of being collaged together in the paintings. I don't do that now, but I think I'm very aware of, you know, the sort of things that I'm painting as becoming a bit characterful. It's like they've got limbs or legs or torsos. They're slightly like animated. And I'm looking more and more at sort of 1960s, 1970s children's book illustrations or kind of early cartoons, and thinking about the sort of impossibility of those things that look a little bit like they might have a name, but not necessarily something you can name, but you sort of feel a bit familiar. So, you know, things like this one here, you know, sort of, I'm very aware of this feeling a bit like some mad kind of fringe, and these are sort of like limbs. Maybe that's got some odd kind of shoe, and maybe this is like a head, but it's also a bit like some weird inverted pineapple. So there's these kind of odd, and I don't go into the painting or drawing, whatever it is I'm doing, I don't go in sort of thinking I'm going to draw a character, but I'm very conscious of these things sort of becoming a bit character-like. It's like they kind of come through the process of the painting itself. They always start with a I guess an idea of drawing. So I will draw with the paint, and normally I wouldn't say I have a plan. I have a kind of vague idea of how I'm going to start a form. So it might be, oh, I want something big that's going to fill the space, or I want the sense of two sort of forms that are nestling next to one, or I want something suspended. So I'll normally mix up a colour and I'll draw that form in fairly fast, and then I'll almost always eradicate most of that.
That's actually pretty interesting because I feel like when I'm editing, um, I feel like that's why I like documenting so much more than like actual like setup stuff. Because in the editing process, you kind of just have to like figure it out. Like, well, obviously you have a story that you want to tell, but like just day to day, like documenting stuff, you kind of have to like morph it into a way that's entertaining, which is something that I enjoy. If that makes sense, you know? I don't know.
Bloody reddy brown kind of colour is sort of sitting on top of this teal, and this actually this rather lovely sharp edge that's translucent. You know, I'm really excited by the graphicness of that, and the way that that's sort of doing something interesting spatially. So I think for me, I think they are abstract paintings, but they are definitely entities, things, bodies on a ground or sitting within a space. There's definitely a foreground and a background. There's definitely a sense of things having a spatialness. It's not just about paint on surface. There is a sort of, I guess, a manifestation of a thing. I think the thing is quite an important thing for me.
But yeah, man, as you can see, like timestamp is actually very cool. Like just super cool. Whenever you get a chance, just watch, please. I advise anybody to watch it. It's great insight.
Where things happen and things are in relationship to each other in a way that's surprising or unexpected or makes you think many ways about how something is. I'm Carlo Anselmi. I'm from New York, and I'm a painter. I have no actual memory of starting to make artwork because both my parents are artists, and going back to my earliest memories, I have these really vivid memories of my dad stretching canvas and using rabbit skin glue and painting and going to the Met with him. When I was 4 years old, we moved out of the city there's no like actual moment when I remember starting to make art. It was just always something I did. Yeah, I always had the sense that art was part of life. There was no like encounter. A lot of people I know like didn't have art growing up, and they have the very vivid moment where they discovered art or discovered that they wanted to be an artist. And different people have the different battles, kind of like if your parents are lawyers or something, it's like you got to get a real job, you know, find a way to make money. But I never had that. I always had like encouragement to make art because it was
Yeah,
something.
man, that whole you got to get a real job. Yeah, very understanding of that situation. But it's cool because I think Indigo, when she's older, she'll be able to just do whatever she wants, and me and her mom are gonna support her on that. So I'm very excited to see what she decides to do.
To how I exist. Um, if I don't make art, I start feeling lost. I feel like there's something wrong, or I'm like not doing the thing that I know that I'm supposed to do. I try to show up in the studio every day. I mean, I'm not perfect about it, but the longest I've gone out of the studio, I would say, is 2 months. That's like the longest, but that's like very rare. That's like when I took a trip to Europe and spent 2 months like wandering around. But actually, I was still making art. I was like drawing all the time, so that's not even true. I make art every day, or at least attempt to. If I show up to the studio, even if I don't make anything good, it's a success. I grew up drawing with my dad. He would, on Saturdays, we would.
I like that perspective a lot because it's like sometimes you don't want to go in and do something. Sometimes you just need to make stuff and just try and make stuff. So I really like that. You know, just go in there and try. Just do something. If you do something, count it as a success.
Habit of carving. So I would go out and I'd carve pieces of wood into different animal forms. And it was something I loved to do. And I was just, that was more like in a way that's surprising or unexpected or maybe playing. And for me, I could never do that. But then you give me a piece of paper and a pencil, and suddenly it's like I could just make something up. And then my brother was like, "How do you do that?" And I was like, "I don't know. Just comes to me. I don't know." But I'll, treasure that because I can keep going with it. It's like always endless. For me, it's like a triad because the main difference. I mean, I think drawing, painting, and sculpture are like 3 points on a triangle of art where they're kind of always informing each other. Like drawing for me, I've already talked about. The relationship of drawing to painting for me is very clear. But then there's this third thing, which is sculpture, which is the third dimension. And in terms of rewiring the way that I think, I hate that word rewiring, but it really does that. It's like you think about sculpture, or you try to sculpt something in your painting instead of draw it, and suddenly you're realizing that it's a real thing. Like you've suddenly created a actual object that's in the room with you that isn't just a flat image that you're relying on the illusion or the convincing nature of drawing to be good or not good. Suddenly you've created a thing in the room that's like, this is a real object. Like, oh, you want a dog? Like, here's a dog. I just made one. So I approach it very respectfully, and I have this sort of relationship with sculpture that I've never taken a sculpture class before. I've shown one sculpture ever. It was a clay sculpture, but it was the only clay sculpture I've ever made. So for me, it's like I'm very almost hesitant because I love it. I just sit there and I'll carve and carve an image. And usually I've been doing wood. I mean, this is basswood, but it's a very reductive process. It's almost like scary for people because once you remove a part, then it's like gone. It's not like you can erase that, or like, I mean, I could like glue it back on, but I'd feel too much of a purist maybe about that. And then you turn around and you're like, and you're like, oh, wow, doing something. That's doing something right. and I could feel it. It was like, it kind of shapes the perception of looking at one thing, because it undermines like the singularity of anything in the painting, because you can see these like almost trace moments. It's like when you look at a drawing that's been erased and then refound and then erased and refound, that to me is a little sculptural actually, because you're able to follow the hand and the thought of the artist in order to arrive at this clarity. So it's not just the thing that's clear, it's like this whole background of traces, or they call them pentimenti, which are like the little sins, where it's like, oh, I did something wrong. Oh, I did something wrong. I did something wrong, but now I'm here. And it's really like kind of a beautiful thing to me. And when I can see my own hand doing that, it's like evidence. It's like, this is how we got there. I didn't have like one moment, because it's just something. I mean, I never, like, I was always either had a crayon in my hand as a kid, or was drawing. And then there was almost like this, I knew that I could be good at that. Like, I always knew that I could be good at it.
Well, I believe in confessions, man. You gotta leave.
I want to edit for somebody like this. Like, I definitely want to edit for timestamp. So timestamp, I don't know, you might never see this, but timestamp, I really want to edit for you. So, hit me up. I'll do it for free.
Leave it here because when you die, you don't want to take it with you because then you got. Well, I believe in confessions, man. You got to leave it here because when you die, you don't want to take it with you because then you got to come back and rework it. And I don't want to rework it when I come back. I want to leave it here. So I confess to you this. Well, I used to think the goal was to get this gallery and get some kind of recognition for something. I could make a painting. I thought that was the goal. And then I met a bunch of people who taught me that there was something better than that. More. And I like showing at galleries. My work shows well on walls.
Wow. 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 This is wow.
I'm Noel W. Anderson. The W is important. I work too hard for that. Well, I'm really a teacher. I'm a professor at this university in New York City. He who shall not be named, kind of Voldemort type thing. I teach philosophy and art. I really just try to teach what it means to think. There is thinking. And I'm also kind of an artist. I just well, let's just say I make some stuff we call work. That's what I do. Oh, I was like 6. My father was a civil engineer, and he would take one of my siblings and I on the road with him. Day trips, long day trips. They put us in this station wagon and drive us places. And to entertain me, he would buy me these how to draw cartoon characters in 5 easy steps. And it was like Scooby-Doo and Flintstone. You draw a head and then 2 circles, and 5 steps later, you have a fucking animal. And when I was a boy, he got me these things, and he would buy me tracing paper and carbon paper. Now I've dated myself, I think I have. And in the car, while he was playing Thelonious Monk and just driving at his own pace, I would be in the back tracing Scooby-Doo's head and then transposing it off Fred Flintstone's body.
See, this is just I just love hearing stories like this because it's like, bro, like literally your entire life is a culmination of what you become. Like whatever you get yourself into early on, it becomes what you do in the future. Like it well, you can always change and evolve, but yeah, for the most part, your childhood is like your childhood influences actually build you into who you are. It's happened to me. I mean, it is who I am. Like I didn't realize how many movies I watched as a kid, but I always watch movies. So now I'm into that. So
It does a lot. how did I learn to make the work that I make today? And we're gonna have that conversation because this is gonna be fun because I'm like looking at this table, I'm looking at all these tools and implements, and it's very random. It's like there's a toy here, but it's not something you're supposed to play with. And then there's like this brush here. Like how did I figure out how to put those things together? These have cross into another version of whatever I will be. Marty Kalb was my painting professor. Shout out to Marty. He said to me, Noel, I can't make you an artist. I can just teach you some techniques. I said, okay, I don't need you to make me an artist. I think I might be able to do that myself. I just need to learn how to draw this line straight. And he did. So yeah, I didn't really go to an art school. I just went to a place where some people knew some things about technique and they gave them to me. They didn't give them to me, they shared them with me. And I hope I was able to share something with them in a roundabout way. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really go to art school. But I guess you could say I went to one in regards to grad school. Yeah, I guess I did go to art school. Damn, look at me. It's like therapy again. I went to Yale. That was years ago. I was in my own zone. So if you go to grad school, this is really my recommendation. If you go to grad school, treat it like a residency. Treat grad school like an art residency. They're gonna give you a studio and they're gonna pay some people to come talk to you about your ideas. You can listen to them, you don't have to. It's a residency. You know, and what's really great about grad school, as a residency, you have all of these resources that other residencies may or may not have. So I mean, like a therapist would say, well, let's just change perspective. Am I going to grad school or am I going to this 2-year-long residency that is housed at this university? Seriously, I'm trying to get one of my good friends right now because he ain't doing so hot financially because we all broke. I'm trying to get him to apply to grad school next year. So I'll write you a recommendation, dude. I was like, I'll help you make the fucking work. He's like, really? And I'm like, you don't understand, man. Like, because these schools, especially if you're willing to go to the Midwest for a while and sever yourself from the constant energy.
Wow, that piece, that's incredible. That's incredible.
They have libraries. Those libraries have JSTOR and other digital databases that you got to pay for if you don't have that, right? Residencies don't have that kind of stuff, man. Universities have a guy who was growling, stumble out of a doorway. And I said, not today, not today. And I remember just slowly shifting my way over into the street. And I remember walking down the street for a while. And then I remember that guy growling come out of the middle of nowhere. And the guy who had been walking towards him screamed and ran to the street, ran down the street. And I just kept walking, and then the guy growling, I saw him, he was on the sidewalk. His intestines were coming out of his body. And the police were standing there. The cops finally came and helped him. And then I had to go in my studio and try to make work from that. That's when I decided to move to the Bronx. There's a rainbow there somewhere. And now I have a studio in the Bronx. It's great. No, there has never been a time I thought I was gonna quit. There's no quitting me. This isn't work. A lot of people come in here or they see the shows and they're just like, man, that's a lot of work. Not for me. I love this, man. I love the journey to this room. I love the picking. I love deciding which.
Gotta timestamp that. Gotta timestamp. There's no quit. There's no quit. Love this. Love it. Love it. Love it.
All of the beautiful landscape and seeing, what is that? The sound. The sound. It's the water over there. I just love it. It makes me feel like I'm not in New York. I actually feel like I'm in Europe. Like when I do that, I feel like I'm in Berlin. I'm sorry, it's gorgeous. I shouldn't say that because I know all the artists want to come now. But or I can take the train, and that gets me in a different kind of like. I try to explore those things, those concepts of the image isn't real. Well, how do we make it real? At first, I would start picking the thread. So I was trying to find something behind the image to like legitimize or validate or reify whatever it was. And then I realized that because the thing is all woven out of cotton, all I'm doing is picking cotton. That happened, I don't know, 2017, 2016. And that realization transformed my way of my approach. My approach to this is painting, my approach to this is weaving. Yeah, so when I started to do that, I knew that I could do more with the threads. I then realized that in order to get it closer to painting, I wanted to paint them. But I couldn't use regular paint because it matched the surface. So I started working with dyes. And with dye, what it does is it keeps the surface really soft. Yeah, and that's that thing that's happening to people in the show where the image is vibrating. It's because I have this technique of painting with dye that creates a layer, a layer. It's almost like almost like another layer of fibers on top of the image that I'm dyeing. That then you're staring through. Yeah, we just try it, man. I make my own colors.
All right, man. That's really good. But yeah, I really just wanted to share that with everybody who subscribed to me. Like, you should definitely, if you're an artist or some type of creative, whatever it is, if you need some inspiration, it's good to hear it from others who walk a similar path. I think. I mean, that's how I get inspired. Like, just hearing stories like that, um, hearing how people get through their situation as an artist and hearing the struggles that they go through as an artist, it just kind of reminds you, like, hey, just keep going. Everybody who becomes great goes through this type of deterrence or these speed bumps in the road, but that shouldn't stop you. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it, bro. Like, I just want to get on here real quick. It's late. It's Sunday. I appreciate y'all. And yeah, whenever I find something new, I'll share it again. But thank you guys. Thank you. You right there. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate